Three, two, one. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first meeting of 2023. This is the 6th meeting of the 143rd Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. And we welcome you all here tonight after a great holiday season. And look, I'm quite impressed with how great the streets have been plowed. Normally, by this time of year, we've had many snowplow complaints. Although I did see Councillor Kohler out with his shovel doing some city work for us one day. So we did have some bad weather over the Christmas time, but great job with the team out there making the city look beautiful. Councillor Kohler is online tonight, on Zoom tonight, and the rest are all here in council. So any disclosures of interest from any of the members? Seeing none, we'll move on to minutes.
I have motion that the minutes of the meeting held on December 19th, 2022 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee this evening is strategic direction and development. 2 items. Both relating to public meetings. The first is notice of a public meeting to take place on January the 12th by Zoom at 10 a.m. And that notice is received from the Committee of Adjustment regarding an application for consent by Gord Martin to create separate lots for the properties at 248 and 250 Forest Avenue. The second public meeting regarding an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment to be held on January 25th at 6:10 p.m. and that's from the municipality of Central Elgin. And in order to facilitate the development of a 177 unit high density residential development with a maximum height of 6 stories and to permit a dental medical office at the property known as 410 Sunset Drive. Your worship, unless there's any...
I have a question from Councillor Peters.
Okay. Thanks very much, Your Worship. I wouldn't mind hearing back from engineering staff on this one in Central Elgin, because I'm assuming that is going to be utilizing the sewer line that comes from the former psychiatric hospital to our pollution plant. And I want to make sure that there's adequate capacity to handle this project, because I can't believe that they're building 177 units on a septic system, but I wouldn't mind hearing back from staff on it.
That's what we'll ask for then. Thanks. Okay. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Lou. Princess Playhouse had asked for a committee of adjustment. They've got a date for some work that they're doing on a ramp, and they've got provincial funding that they're worried about the deadlines. And I just didn't know if anybody had responded. I forwarded an email that I had received, whether anybody had gotten back to them.
Mr. Pompili, if you can help us with that, please.
Certainly, 3 years for sure. Your Worship, I didn't hear the first part of who that. I did notice some emails come through today, and they were responded to. So if that was part of it with regards to a potential consent application, then they have been responded to, but I can certainly follow up.
If somebody objected, that they could run into trouble with their provincial funding. Gotcha. And so they were hoping that the committee could meet earlier in the month than the scheduled date.
Oh, we'll certainly look into it. Those dates are fixed for the most part. So trying to accommodate specific dates does get challenging. But if there were no appeals or no objections during the meeting or up until the decision, that can help their case to at least avoid appeals. But I'll certainly follow up and look into that for you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Seeing no further items from the members, we'll now move to community engagement and services. First item relates to the 2023 Children's Services Transfer Payment Agreement. I have a motion that report SCSS 0123 relating to the Children's Services Transfer Payment Agreement be received for information, and further the council approve entering into the transfer payment agreement, and further that a bylaw be prepared authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the transfer payment agreement related to childcare and early on child family centers within or with the Ministry of Education to establish mutual responsibilities, obligations, terms, and conditions relating to 2023 funding for children's services in the amount of $18,052,845. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark, then Councillor Gibson, Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. I just had a question on workforce funding. And it's just wondering whether it says the funding will be used to support the development of a professional learning strategy and innovative strategies. Is there a provincial template, or is every municipality expected to come up with their own plan?
There is no provincial template. We are expected to do our own plan, but what has happened over the course of the last year. So with this funding, we got the large amount for last year. We started collaborating with communities around us. So we did a large event with Chatham-Kent, London, Lambton back in May. And so we've been doing some things in partnerships, but it is really up to the uniqueness of our community can be reflected in the PD that's professional development that's offered. So it's up to us to decide what we would like to do. And what we've done is we've collaborated with other communities. We've collaborated with our childcare staff that work in our community to ask what they want. And we've built our plan based on that.
Super. Councillor Gibson?
Yes, under the funding change in highlights, I was just, if they can just give me the $247,000.
Rose, can I get you, just move your microphone a little closer?
Sorry.
Thank you.
There, how's that? So the $247,000 that was being a carryover, if you could remind me as to where that had come from. And second part to the question, will that carry over affect any funding coming in or decreasing any funding coming in?
We don't have any carryover, so I'm not 100% sure what the 247 is. Sorry, I do not have it in front of me. Oh, thanks. Be more specific as to where that carryover, where you saw that?
I'm sorry, it's on page 5. It's funding change highlights. Just second paragraph after the workforce.
Yes. Sorry, I apologize. So that's okay. The workforce funding. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you ask the question again?
Not a problem. So if you could just remind me as to that came from the workforce.
Yes.
Okay. So when it goes back, when you do the carryover.
Yes.
Will that affect any of the changing of funding that's coming in?
No.
Or will it decrease the percentage that they went from 10% to 5%?
No, we will just be able to move that because that's that workforce funding, which is around the professional development. We are doing a huge campaign. You'll be able to hear it on My FM in the next couple of weeks, where we'll be recruiting for new staff, recruiting for new home child care providers. So we're using all that funding and just carrying that over and working towards trying to focus on recruitment and retention for the next few months. So that's what we're going to use that funding for. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't know what that was off the top of that.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. I think you've kind of danced around it to the question I was going to ask. When I read the highlight on workforce funding, in my mind, there wasn't really any big concern that you were 485 difference for 2023. And so maybe you could just explain how that took place.
So we received that funding, we received the funding allotment last year, and we knew that we were going to get X number of dollars in 2022, and the rest would come in 2023. So that amount did not change. What did change was the ability to actually carry over. So I apologize, I missed that. We were allowed to carry over. Typically, we're not allowed to, but we knew last year what that amount was going to be. So again, this was not a concern for us.
Sorry. And you have to spend that now, or you have to use that by the end of the year?
We have to use that by the end of the year, and we will have no trouble doing that.
Or you lose it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We try to spend everything so that we don't have to send it back.
Careful now. Goal. Yeah. Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. Curious about ministries introducing a 5% holdback on 2023 childcare that will be released upon the completion of the ministry review of their 2023 financial statement. So that, if that's the case, we might not see that money until 2024. Does that have the potential to have any impact on your budget?
No, I don't anticipate that. The reason for the holdback, from what I understand, is that, and we are in the same situation where we were unable to spend all the funds. For example, with the CWALC, the Canada-wide Early Learning Program, we had a huge decrease in the number of families that were accessing subsidy because the fees went down. So many families could now afford the childcare because the fees went down. So we didn't expend all that money. And so what the ministry found is they gave us all this money and now they're having to claw it all back. So that's why they're doing the 5%, just so that they're not having to give it to us and then bring a significant amount back. So that's why they're doing it. We do not anticipate it's going to impact us at all.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items from the members under this committee, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations, and nothing on the agenda at this time, your worship, unless there are any items from the members. And seeing none, we'll now move into...
Sorry, Councillor Baldwin-Sands, I'm sorry. Oh, you're working your iPad and I think you're waving it at me. I'm very sorry. Good work on whatever you're working on. No. All right, next.
I will move into corporate governance and administration. First item relates to the 2023 capital and operating budget approval. I have a motion that report TR01-23 relating to the 2023 capital and operating budget approval be received for information. And further, the council adopt the estimated 2023 gross expenditures of $24,328,469 for capital and $142,852,760 for operating. And further, the council adopt the estimated 2023 non-tax revenues of $101,451,765 and tax levy of $64,729,464 to support these gross expenditures. And further, the council adopt the current operating and capital estimates required for 2023 as outlined in the 2023 operating and capital budget documents attached to report TR01-23. And further, the council authorized the Director of Finance and City Treasurer to draft a bylaw that sets the 2023 tax rates based upon a levy of $64,729,464 and provides for the 2023 property tax policies required by the Ministry of Finance. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters?
My only comment would be is I just want to thank staff for their efforts when following through with council's direction of the tax increase, of going back, taking a look at the budget and finding the appropriate savings and or revenues. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Herbert?
Yes, I would have to agree with Councillor Peters. The budget was well done. The staff worked hard getting it back down to the 2.37%. And I think it's just great for the people of St. Thomas to see that we listen to them sometimes to try and keep the taxes down lower and still look around the city, things that are being done. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Baldwin-Sands?
I was actually hoping for some feedback from Michael Carroll in regards to Valley View, because the budget this year, not only has it been incredibly challenging for Valley View and the challenges that they have had with new protocols, et cetera, and what their hopes were for 2023, but I will ask that question at a later date when Mr. Carroll is here.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That is carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items under corporate governance administration, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole, as recorded in the minutes of this date, be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
No reports this evening. We now move into petitions and communications. The first is a request for proclamation and flag raising from Victim Services Elgin. I have a motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaim February the 22nd, 2023 as Human Trafficking Awareness Day in the City of St. Thomas, and further that the Victim Services Elgin flag be flown at City Hall on February the 22nd, 2023. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Second item under petitions and communications is also a request for a proclamation and flag raising as well as jumbo lighting. And this is from Elgin County Pride 2023. I have a motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaim August 7th to 13th, 2023 as Pride Week in the City of St. Thomas, and further that the Pride flag be flown at City Hall from August 7th to 13th, 2023, and further that the Jumbo Monument be lit in rainbow colors from August 7th to 13th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That is carried.
Your Worship, unless there are any items from the members, we'll now move in. Sorry, there appear to be some items, Your Worship.
It's a new year trend. I like this. Councillor Herbert, I saw your hand first. I'll go to Councillor Baldwin-Sands, then Councillor Peters.
I just wondered how the our new ice rink has survived as has it survived.
It's a very shallow pool.
No, is it ready to go? Did you have it up and working or? Sorry, I'm just curious.
It was prepped through you, Mayor Preston. My apologies. It was prepped prior to Christmas and the weather has not been cooperating.
So as soon as the weather gets good, you'll be up and running.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Just curious.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. I just would like to do an echo announcement about what we did on Friday, December the 30th. We had the joint Elgin County with the City of St. Thomas Health Recruitment Partnership, where we had our luncheon to recognize the 5 medical scholarship recipients. So these were representative from across Elgin County, and we were very pleased to host them for the afternoon, and very worthwhile discussion. And if there's any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer them.
Super. Thank you for that information too. Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Worship. I just wanted to say thanks to Jeff Bray. I had a query over the holidays regarding the Joe Thornton Center Community Achievement Wall. And Maria also helped enlighten me in that this is an issue that has come back into council's hands. And through the emails exchanged with Jeff, he laid out that there's 4 applications in the queue right now, and that he's going to be organizing an internal review of those for January 25th. So I just think it, with the COVID hiatus on the achievement wall, I think it's incumbent on us as council, and as this is a committee of council, that we get the achievement wall back on track. So thanks to staff.
Great thought. And I saw there was a notice out today or yesterday also about civic awards, nominations from our general public. So I'm hoping that we now see this week some more of that coming in too. So great. Further points? Seeing none.
Your Worship, if there's any items of unfinished business or new business from the members? And seeing none, we'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 9th day of January, 2023.
Questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Any opposed? That's carried. Second bylaw and final bylaw, please.
Next bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of Education. This relates to childcare and early on child and family centers, a transfer payment agreement.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I rise and report to the passing of two bylaws.
Good work.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the two bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
No notices this evening, Your Worship. At this time, we have need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land and a personal matter about identifiable individuals. Moved by Councillor McCauley, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing that, I'll remind the public at home, that's really the end of our meeting today. We'll come back into session only to pass what might have been covered in closed session and to adjourn for the day. So we thank you for joining us tonight. And so all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.